as the Bank of Ghana hints of tough action against defaulters of Momo Quick Loans. Also, judges express concern over what they say is recent unjustified attacks on their person for simply doing their work.
We have been attacked, we have been maligned, and all sorts of things have been said about judges.
We have details of that. Medical and Dental Council reviews its earlier assessment of training in Ukraine had revealed serious breaches, including carpentry and literature students with no pre-medical background being admitted.
People didn't have the requisite background. People have done carpentry, have the best grade is D7, and then they have gone and they have come back as doctors. People have done literature in English without any pre-med. So this led to the policy on the training of foreign medical and dental students.
And then sports.
70% of current Ghana squad will be in Qatar, according to Black Stars coach Otto Addo. We have more in 20 minutes.
And it's shameful. Adansi Asokwa MP Katie Hammond goes off on patrons of Global Citizens Festival who booed President Akufo-Addo last Saturday.
I have been very, very upset. I haven't seen anything like this before. Even on political platforms, we don't do these things. I think it is unfair. We must be ashamed of ourselves.
We have details as he tasks state prosecutors to ensure Galamsey Queen Aisha Wang does not go scot-free.
Well, she's now languishing in jail, isn't it? In custody. A court reminded her into the prison or police custody or something. One of the custodies. BNI. Well, Asha 3, Asha 4. We'll see how it goes.
That and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. You definitely want to stay for details. Let's dig in now and start off on the economy. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says a bailout deal with the International Monetary Fund will be reached before the end of the year, an outcome of it incorporated into the 2023 budget. A team assessing Ghana's economy is in town, engaging government on a proposed $3 billion credit support to help resuscitate the economy. The talk is in its third day, and on the table is a 7-point resolution contained in the government plan of action for the fund's support. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta announced this at a news conference.
Within this context, government is finalizing its post-COVID-19 economic program as a domestic blueprint to engage the IMF. This document has already benefited from input from key stakeholders, including civil society, social partners, labor, employers, and faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. The program is hinged on 7 pillars, namely debt sustainability, fiscal consolidation, strengthening monetary and exchange rate policies, building strong financial institutions, macro-critical structural reforms, maintaining peace and security, and economic growth and transformation. The formal negotiations for a fund-supported program began on Monday, September 26, 2022, and discussions are advancing smoothly. And in line of His Excellency the President's dialogue with the IMF Managing Director, negotiations will be fast-tracked to ensure that key aspects of the program are reflected in the 2023 annual budget statement in November 2022. Government is committed to ensuring that a comprehensive package is negotiated with the aim of restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability, ensuring durable and inclusive growth, and promoting social protection.
Well, the major issue of concern to investors is the proposed restructuring of domestic debt, but Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says an agreement is yet to be reached on the controversial issue.
The IMF, World Bank, and the Ghana team are currently undertaking a debt sustainability analysis to inform the program negotiations. In addition, the IMF and government team are working to update the medium-term macro-fiscal framework to inform IMF program design. Also, the government team and the IMF team are discussing policy measures and structural reforms, proposing an economic program aimed at addressing the economic challenges facing the country towards restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability, fiscal and debt sustainability, as well as promoting durable and inclusive growth and social protection.
Well, a 5-member committee to seek inputs from interest parties and advise government on ways to address the structural defect of the economy was also announced.
It's unfortunate in their email to us, they referred to the Bloomberg article that influenced their decision. And so the downgrade has, well, it sort of further depressed the bonds on the international market, resulting in additional losses to investors. I mean, once we got downgraded to CCC, we are also expecting that economic program that is going to be that is being worked on, which will be the sort of the basis for the IMF discussions, will then, help us to come back to some strong matrices to then be able to get sovereign ratings revised over that period.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will get to hear from the IMF shortly, but let me bring in minority spokesperson on finance, Dr. Ato Fortune. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So you've always asked for transparency in all this process. Today, a 7-point resolution has been put out there: debt sustainability, strengthening of the currency, fiscal consolidation, amongst others. Satisfied with what you're hearing so far?
Emefa, I wouldn't say I'm satisfied. I can only say that it's a good start, but not good enough. I say this for a simple reason, that the issues our minister responsible for finance is articulating should have been done a couple of months ago. The so-called consultation that he talked about, apparently, from what I've heard and what I've seen, isn't really enough consultation, because he used the word input into the government program. I can say that there was no such input. The government obviously met with the people concerned and obviously presented the problem to them and solicit views from them. That cannot be seen as an input. I think input is when you present your solution and ask people to discuss the solutions that you believe that will solve the problem, whether it will be enough or not. Nothing of the sort actually happened. First of all, I know, and we in the minority, we have conducted Ghana's debt sustainability analysis, and we have come to a conclusion that our debt is certainly unsustainable. In fact, we have passed unsustainability. Currently, we are in crisis mode. My only plea is for us to get an IMF program, remembering very well that the fund will not give you a program if your debt is unsustainable. So after the IMF confirms that Ghana's debt is unsustainable, what they will need to do is to agree with the government what we call the resource envelope or the restructuring envelope, where the government will agree with the IMF the amount of money we would need as debt relief. And until you get that debt relief from the IMF, the situation can only deteriorate.
Okay, well,
my prayer.
Well, for some, really, the concern is, at least I've heard you also mention that we are in a crisis mood. You've done some debt sustainability work that you talk about, but we are in day 3 of the IMF talks. It's a national issue now. Are you hopeful that we're able to reach a deal before the presentation of the 2023 budget?
I don't think so. There is no way, and I can confirm this 100%, there is no way Ghana can have a deal before the next budget, which is in November 2nd week, the latest. It's not possible.
Well, we'll leave you here for now. This is an issue we'll definitely interrogate subsequently here on Joy 99.7 FM. But the International Monetary Fund says it will undertake a thorough debt situation of Ghana to establish the level of vulnerability. Head of Communications with the IMF, Gary Rice, addressed a news conference on the fund's program with Ghana.
And when a country requests financing from the IMF, we assess whether the country's policies are consistent with debt sustainability. It's one of our requirements. And we still need to conduct a thorough update of the debt situation in Ghana through our debt sustainability analysis. It will be a new DSA, so not yet in a position to comment on that. We, hopefully able to update you in the context of the discussions that are ongoing. I have here the last DSA debt sustainability analysis that we published as part of the 2021 Article 4 staff report with Ghana. I'm just going to quote from it. Said that public debt was sustainable, conditional on a rigorous and credible implementation of the authority's medium-term consolidation plan to put debt on a declining trajectory and ensure continued market access. Of course, this was 21. We all know what has happened in the world since then for every country. I mentioned previously Ghana's been affected by what's been happening in the world, as well as many other countries. So we'll be coming with an update on the debt situation on Ghana.
That's the head of communication there for the IMF team, Gary Rice. They're addressing a press conference earlier today. Well, in the midst of the talks for a possible bailout for Ghana is a call for the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, to resign. Does it still hold? Member of the NPP, Dr. Apawu, who is also a retired political scientist with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, alleges the minister was talked out of resigning by the president. He spoke on the Super Morning Show.
This president places a high value on praises, on being part of his team, supporting him above everything else. Allegiance is most important to this president. And so you will see that people are not performing. It is obvious. He is the one who came to tell us that his appointees are doing a great job. When we are at the IMF, not what you're saying, that's a great job. I'm telling you, there are so many ministers. If it wasn't for this tendency, they should have been fired long ago. Look at this situation. How is it possible that the very person who is trumpeting the idea that we are not going to the IMF, we have the means to make it work, we don't need to go to the IMF, we are a proud nation and all of that, then we end up at the IMF. And suddenly, this same person is the one who has become the champion of dealing with the IMF. How is that possible? You were talking, this is what is called counterfeit logic. It has no integrity, no whatsoever. If the finance minister were not the relative of the president, he himself would have resigned. Here he tried to resign, actually. The president begged him not to.
That's Dr. Apawu. Let's stay a while longer on matters of finance, because the Bank of Ghana is warning of some dire consequences for those with intentions not to pay back mobile money quick loans. The bank has a statement, and my colleague Elton Broby joins me in studio with more on that. What are we looking at?
Well, they are informing the general public that data on all mobile money loan customers are domiciled in the database of credit bureaus. As a result, failure to repay such loans will attract negative repercussions on borrowers' credit report history and could subsequently adversely affect any chance of obtaining loan facilities from any financial institution and credit providers in the future. Borrowers who have discarded their SIM cards are advised to contact their telecom service provider or respective lenders to discuss repayment arrangement to avoid adverse information on their credit report that could deny them access to future credit facilities.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Elton. Now, let's focus on the judiciary now. And judges and magistrates are lamenting what they say is unjustified attacks on their person and against the judiciary. There's been raging discussion following comments by former President John Mahama that the image of the judiciary has been bastardized following what he said was political judgment. According to President of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Justice Henry Kofi, he charged the public to be circumspect in making comments that will bring the name of the judiciary into disrepute.
You would all recognize that the judiciary as an institution and judges in general have been the subjects of quite a lot of rhetoric, attack, and judgments of our courts. Even judgments of the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court, have been attacked, and the judges who delivered the said judgments have not been spared either. We have been attacked, we have been maligned, and all sorts of things have been said about judges. It is my view that evaluating or analyzing judges and their judgments should focus on how judges apply the law to arrive at a result or a decision, but it should not be focused simply on what the result might be or by which but B, or which of the parties to the litigation the decision favors. Judges, by the nature of our work, cannot go onto radio, television, or social media.
Well, Justice Henry Kofi explains that judges are not against the public expressing their right to free speech in criticizing judges.
The association must not be understood to be against criticisms of judges or the judiciary. No. Criticism, if it is constructive, helps to improve any system and makes the various actors to sit up. But that is not the same as what we are seeing lately in the press and on social media.
Let's join my colleague Kweku Asante at this conference live. Kweku, we know that the Ghana Bar Association has also pledged support to the judges and magistrates. Tell us about it.
So according to Yabu Afo, who is the president of the Ghana Bar Association, they will continuously defend the judiciary against these attacks, which he says are unwarranted.
It's an occupational hazard. A client of mine has got himself in trouble this morning and I had to be on the phone. It's still my day job. At this distinguished meeting of the 2022 Conference of the Judges and Magistrates, it is a tremendous honor and great pleasure for me to stand before you and deliver a goodwill message from the Ghana Bar Association. The judicial process is not complete without the participation of both lawyers and judges. As a result, it is incumbent upon the bar to assist the judicial system to ensure that the people of Ghana get justice. In a highly politically heated environment like Ghana, there may arise situations where the judiciary may come under unwarranted attack. As I reiterated at the recent bar conference in Ho, the judiciary is not perfect and infallible. However, the proper tools and methods for correcting and improving the work of the judiciary are through constructive criticisms.
Yabu Afo is president of the Ghana Bar Association. We turn our attention to energy and policy think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is accusing GNPC of misleading Parliament on its gas deal with Gensa Energy. ACEP had alleged the nation was set to lose more than 1 billion cedis because GNPC was buying gas at a higher price by selling it at a cheap rate to Gensa. Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee yesterday met GNPC on the matter. Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, who spoke to journalists after the meeting, said ACEP's claims are misleading.
Some of the headlines you read are not factual, and they do not help. When you have done analysis, called independent analysis, you need to put it against the facts. And the only way you can get the facts is to talk to the institutions that are involved. Otherwise, it can be misleading. And people will form an opinion on misleading statements. And this is why I am very happy that Parliament has shown interest in this.
ACEP maintains GNPC did not provide accurate information to Parliament. Ben Boache is executive director.
What we are giving to Gensa is about $1.5 billion, and that is easy to calculate. GNPC itself, in its tariff proposal to PURC, indicated that the true market price for everybody else, because of this transaction, should be about 7.9 per MMBTU. Today, PURC has approved a new tariff at 5.9, which creates about $2 gap in the market without knowing who is going to pay that difference for us to achieve that true market price that GNPC talks about. So if you compute that, the $2 gap between the 5.9 approved and the 7.9, which GNPC itself says should be the true market price, that creates, about even $3.6 billion within a 16-year period, unless PURC agrees to charge all the other power producers the extra $2. Then the fundamental question is, how do we pay for that if, that $2 is not passed through?
Well, minority spokesperson on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapo, says GNPC provided unsatisfactory answers.
A lot of issues came up. They couldn't answer some of the issues I raised with them. And so they are supposed to go back, furnish us with further and better particulars, and appear before us. VRA is a state-owned entity. So if you sell the gas at 7.9 to VRA, why would you sell it at 6.5 to another entity?
Well, Chairman of the committee, Samuel Atachia, says they've also invited Ghana Gas, who have a crucial role in the deal, to appear before the committee next week, after which they will come to a conclusion. This is the Midday News. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM. We've been talking about government identifying debt sustainability, fiscal consolidation, and strengthening Ghana's currency among key pillars of economic recovery plan, as it's hoping to obtain support of IMF to execute by end of year. When we return, we have sport, and then also Medical and Dental Council reviews its earlier assessment of training in Ukraine, had revealed serious breaches, including carpentry and literature students with no pre-medical background being admitted. And it's shameful. Adansi Asokwa MP Katie Amon goes off on patrons of Global Citizens Conference or Festival who booed President Akufo-Addo last Saturday.
I have been very, very upset. I haven't seen anything like this before. Even on political platforms, we don't do these things. I think it is unfair. We must be ashamed of ourselves.
He's also been tasking the state prosecutors to ensure Galamsey Queen Aisha Wang does not go scot-free.
Well, she's now languishing in jail, isn't it? In custody. A court reminded her into the prison or police custody or something. One of the custodies. BNI. Well, Asha 3, Asha 4. We'll see how it goes.
I bet you thought you've seen it all. You must have thought you've watched it all. Gomorrah is a new exciting series about the conflict that rises between the wealthy and the poor. Watch Gomorrah exclusively on Aquaba Magic, DSTV channel 150, Go TV channel 101, and Aquaba Magic Ebusian, DSTV channel 149, and Go TV channel 108. With as little as 50 Ghana cedis on DSTV access and 25 Ghana cedis on Go TV value. Gomorrah.
What is wrong with Kwame? My sister, I don't even know. He's been complaining of joint and back pains. This is serious. Have you been to the hospital? No, we are yet to. You are wasting time, my sister. Don't you know that persistent joint, bone, or back pains could be early warning signs of childhood cancers? Really? How did you know? When the nurses came to the market the other day, they told us that white spot in the eye or bulging eyeball, fever for more than 2 weeks, weight loss, bleeding or tiredness, unusual lump or swelling anywhere in the body, vomiting or unsteady walking are all early warning signs of childhood cancers. My sister, thank you, but I need to take Kwame to the hospital now. Childhood cancers can be cured. Early reporting can save your child's life.
This message is brought to you by the Ghana Health Service and UK Aid from the UK government.
It's time for sports on the Midday News. What we have?
Yes, Emefa. Now, Ghana head coach Otto Addo has disclosed that over half of the squad he summoned for the September friendlies against Brazil and Nicaragua will be selected for the 2022 World Cup. He further said the technical team will monitor players outside the current squad for possible inclusions. In his exact words to Bild, a German outlet, he said 70% of the players currently on international duty will be in Qatar. The remaining 30% will be tight decisions. We are watching the players closely for the next few games to see who could play in Qatar. Those were his words. Who do you want to see in Qatar?
Please, right now, I'm just managing my expectations. We'll talk about it later.
But we can win the World Cup.
Okay.
Proceed.
Bye-bye. Well, let's talk about health. And the Medical and Dental Council has justified its decision not to recognize doctors trained in war-torn Ukraine. The council says it had already flagged the training process in Ukraine as not meeting the required standards. Ghanaian student leaders in Ukraine have been appealing to the council to soften its stance on the matter. Listen to General Secretary of NUCS Ukraine, Prince Tenakwa.
The students who escaped from danger and war and all that, some of them have gotten to the neighboring countries, and there were certain tempting opportunities for them at that realm, you know. So when Ghana said that they should come back for the integration, and given let's be honest, given the atmosphere in the country today, some of the students, it was a very difficult decision for some of them because some of them are very young and all that, you know. So when government asked them to come back, some decided to go up, of course, even with some pressure from family and all that.
Made it clear that it's not everybody, especially those areas where the war was, intense with the aspect of the southern side, the eastern side. It's not everybody that came out or can even get a transcript from their school. They asked of a way forward. And then no response was given.
So that's the General Secretary of NUCS Ukraine, Prince Tanakwa, and Head of Integration, Abdul Rahman Dauda. Well, we can hear from Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine Banyubala.
In fact, people were recruited, students were being recruited from the malls. People were taken without the requisite background, to the extent that even there was no authentication of certificates. And one of the cases, my former boss, the Midday past registrar, Dr. Atupi, led the other team to China. And this was with ministers and deputy ministers and parliamentary select committee leadership.
Okay.
Even in China, some of them said when they see aggregate F, because in China they have G and H, they think it's a pass.
You're kidding me.
I don't want to reduce
medical institutions.
I'm just telling you
the facts as you found it.
The facts. And I can share that finding led to a number of policy decisions. And so these are findings of fact. People didn't have the requisite background. People have done carpentry, the best grade is D7, and then they have gone and they have come back as doctors. People have done literature in English without any pre-med. So this led to the policy on the training of foreign medical and dental students.
Well, that's Dr. Divine Banyubala there. Now, let's talk about the tissue manufacturing industry, and there's hope for that industry. We know that DGX, an agricultural technology company, has launched another tissue manufacturing company. Well, according to a co-founder, Isaac Osei, his outfit seeks to add value to the agricultural sector, hence setting up this manufacturing company to convert agri waste into a household necessity. Here's Emma Davis, reporter to you.
The management of agricultural waste has become very important because of the negative effects of the inappropriate disposal yield on the environment. The resource recovery from agricultural waste, which converts waste into available resources, can reduce the waste and new resource consumption. In view of this, DGS, an agricultural technology company, has diversified into making tissues.
Today's occasion is specifically the scale-up of our tissue manufacturing line of business from a small prototype to an actual mid-sized business with a strong traction, and it was born from agricultural technology challenge. The goal was to add value to farmers. So we decided that the agricultural waste that they take for granted, we can actually convert to a valuable product.
Well, and just before we talk about the Dansia Sokwa MP, we know that there are some challenges with purchasing prepaid cards, amongst others. Elton, what's the situation?
So, Emefa, the Electricity Company of Ghana is informing its customers on the prepaid metering system that due to technical challenges, purchase of electricity credits has been interrupted. And affected customers should note that our engineers are working seriously to correct the anomaly and restore the system to normalcy. We apologize for the inconvenience caused by this technical challenge, and we understand that you cannot buy prepaid credits, and even if when we're able to, I cannot load it. And this is what they are explaining.
Okay, and we'll give you more subsequently. And I bet you've been waiting for this. But if you were part of those who heckled President Akufo-Addo at the Global Citizens Festival, the Dansia Sokwa MP has a message for you.
On that. I think it's scandalous. It's scandalous. I don't think as a nation we got into that stage. I was petrified when I heard it. The president was speaking. As soon as he opened his mouth, I heard, was it in unison? But if it's that small cabal, whatever it is, I was, let me repeat the word, petrified. Basically, they didn't understand. I haven't seen anything of this sort in Ghana before. We shouldn't start things which become precedent. You can't handle them. You let the genie out of the bottle, completely difficult to get our lives together. I have been very, very upset. I haven't seen anything like this before. Even on political platforms, we don't do these things. We don't. So to imagine that on the national platform like this, a president mounts the platform, and all he said, I think he said in Chi, that the whole of the world or the whole of it's here, and then people start shouting at him. I think it is unfair. We must be ashamed of ourselves. I don't think it is a proper development in our country. Too much shouting connotes an absence of intelligent thinking. So, we're always shouting and shouting. You're not thinking. You're not thinking. You're drawing the president who doesn't know that times are hard. It's not debatable. We all accept that times are hard. Look, yesterday I was asking the system, I was asking, okay, look, This whole thing had been predicated on the difficulty we have with petroleum pricing, and then.
Mrantie no mabunu na moye yi na no mona da bia ye beka kire munya abotre. Mpanifo ni o man mu a da bia meka asamba na yesi ye kwaka pa ye yi a yesi ye kwa kohu abrewa. Yanka se ye kohu mo no na muguo na muti aye yesi nkube na muguo no. Nyamo na yesi ye kohu mu o. Yesi ye kwa kohu abrewa. Abrewa no eye penin.
Well, we'll get to hear him subsequently on Aisha Wang. That's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com, and social media has been reacting to these comments. That and more. Also, we have a playback of Oforiatta speaking on the Ghana IMF negotiations. You can catch that on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Do definitely have a good day. We have